Every morning, billions of people around the world start their day the same way. A cup of coffee. But almost no one stops to ask a simple question. Where does all this coffee actually come from? Behind that small cup lies one of the largest, most complex industrial systems on Earth. Massive facilities that process millions of tons of coffee beans every single year. Factories so vast, they operate like small cities. Plants where speed, precision, and consistency decide the fate of a billion-dollar global industry. Today, you're going inside the world's largest coffee processing plant. This is not a cozy cafe story. This is industrial scale. Before coffee becomes a lifestyle, a brand, or a morning ritual, it begins its life as a fragile agricultural product grown in tropical regions across Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. But once harvested, the real transformation begins inside enormous processing facilities designed to handle unimaginable volumes with scientific accuracy. In this plant, coffee is not treated as a drink. It's treated as data, logistics, chemistry, and profit. Every hour, thousands of tons of green coffee beans arrive from ports and rail terminals. Every minute, automated systems analyze moisture levels, bean density, and defects. Every second, decisions are made that determine flavor profiles consumed by people thousands of kilometers away. And here's the truth, most brands never show you. Consistency is not natural, it's engineered. The same taste you expect from a global coffee brand, year after year, does not happen by accident. It is the result of industrial blending, controlled roasting algorithms, and strict quality control protocols running 24 hours a day. In this episode, we will follow the coffee's journey from raw green beans to perfectly processed product ready for global distribution. We'll reveal how modern factories balance tradition and automation, how they minimize waste, maximize efficiency, and why a single mistake can cost millions of dollars. Stay with us until the end, because what you're about to see will completely change how you look at your daily coffee. Subscribe to Industrial Insight, because the world you consume is built behind closed doors. The journey to the world's largest coffee processing plant doesn't begin inside a factory. It begins thousands of kilometers away, on farms scattered across multiple continents. Coffee is one of the most globally traded commodities on Earth, second only to oil in some years. Beans harvested in Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and Indonesia all end up converging at massive industrial hubs like this one. But before a single bean enters the plant, it must survive an unforgiving supply chain. Once harvested, coffee cherries are processed locally, dried and exported as green beans. These beans are packed into shipping containers, each holding up to 20 tons, and sent across oceans. Temperature fluctuations, humidity, and time are constant enemies. A small mistake during transport can destroy entire shipments. When the containers finally arrive at the processing plant, the scale becomes overwhelming. Imagine warehouse zones larger than football stadiums, stacked floor to ceiling with green coffee sacks. Robotic cranes move with surgical precision. Barcode systems track every batch down to its country, region, and even farm of origin. This is where the coffee stops being agricultural and becomes industrial. Before processing begins, every shipment undergoes intake inspection, moisture content analysis, density measurement, visual defect scanning, chemical residue testing. Why so strict? Because in a facility this large, one contaminated batch can affect millions of products worldwide. Advanced sampling machines extract beans automatically. Lab technicians run tests around the clock. Every data point feeds into a centralized system that decides where each batch will go next: storage, blending, or rejection. What's shocking is how little human guesswork remains. Algorithms now predict roasting behavior before a bean is ever heated. AI systems flag anomalies, invisible to the human eye. The factory doesn't just process coffee, it predicts coffee. Only after passing this digital gatekeeping does the coffee move deeper into the plant, toward cleaning, sorting, and the transformation process that will define its final taste. And this is just the beginning. In the next segment, we go deeper into industrial cleaning, defect removal, and precision sorting, where machines decide which beans deserve to become premium coffee and which are discarded. Your coffee's fate is about to be decided. Inside the heart of the processing plant, coffee beans face their first true industrial judgment. This stage decides everything. Although green coffee beans arrive already processed at origin, they are far from perfect. Dust, stones, broken beans, insect damage, and moisture inconsistencies still remain. At small roasteries, these flaws might go unnoticed. At this scale, imperfection is unacceptable. The cleaning line begins with sheer force. Massive vibrating screens shake the beans at calculated frequencies, separating particles by size and weight. Air aspiration systems blast controlled streams of air upward, lifting away husks, dust, and lightweight debris. Magnets remove metallic contaminants, a critical safety step in any large industrial plant. Then comes the real intelligence. Optical sorting machines scan up to 30,000 beans per second. Using high-resolution cameras, infrared sensors, and AI-powered defect recognition, the system identifies color deviations, cracks and broken surfaces, mold contamination, insect damage, density irregularities. Each bean is evaluated individually. If a bean fails inspection, compressed air jets eject it in milliseconds. There is no hesitation, no second chance. What's astonishing is the level of precision. Some defects are invisible to the human eye, but instantly flagged by machines trained on millions of samples. Over time, the system learns, constantly refining what perfect coffee looks like. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Up to 15% of incoming coffee never makes it past this stage. Those rejected beans are repurposed for lower-grade products, others discarded entirely. At this scale, even waste becomes a managed operation. This relentless sorting ensures one thing above all else: global consistency. A consumer in New York, Tokyo, or Berlin expects the same taste every single time. That expectation begins right here, where machines enforce standards no human could maintain for more than minutes. Once cleaned and sorted, the beans are no longer just coffee. They are now industrial-grade raw material, ready for transformation. And what happens next will define their final identity. Roasting is where coffee becomes coffee. Flavor, aroma, bitterness, acidity, everything people love or hate about coffee is born in this moment. And inside the world's largest processing plant, roasting is not an art performed by intuition. It is controlled chemical engineering. Forget small drum roasters, turning a few kilograms at a time. Here, industrial roasters handle several tons per batch, operating continuously for days without stopping. The beans enter massive rotating chambers where temperatures rise beyond 200 degrees Celsius. But heat alone is not enough. Every variable is monitored: time, temperature, curves, airflow velocity, internal bean pressure, moisture evaporation rates. Sensors embedded throughout the system feed real-time data into centralized control rooms. Operators don't guess when a roast is finished. Algorithms decide. Why such obsession with precision? Because at this scale, a mistake isn't a bad batch, it's a global recall. Roasting triggers complex chemical reactions, the Maillard reaction, and caramelization, transforming raw beans into aromatic powerhouses. But if the curve deviates even slightly, flavor profiles collapse. That's why modern plants use roast profiling software. Engineers program exact profiles for different products: mild breakfast blends, dark espresso roasts, specialty lines. The system adjusts itself automatically, compensating for bean, origin, humidity, and density. Once roasted, the beans must cool instantly. High-speed cooling trays blast filtered air through the beans to stop chemical reactions within seconds. Delay this step, and flavors continue developing uncontrollably. What's fascinating is how tradition still survives here. Despite full automation, master roasters still oversee the process. They don't turn knobs, they interpret data. Sensory experts regularly sample roasts, ensuring machines haven't drifted from human expectations. Because no matter how advanced the technology becomes, coffee is still judged by taste. And next, the roasted beans will face one final transformation: blending, grinding, and preparation for a global market hungry for uniform perfection. In the next segment, we uncover industrial blending, grinding, and flavor standardization, where different origins become one signature taste. The coffee you recognize is about to be engineered. Once coffee beans are roasted, many people believe the process is nearly finished. In reality, this is where the most strategic decisions are made. Blending is the secret weapon of the global coffee industry. It's how companies maintain the same taste year after year, even when harvests change, climates shift, and bean quality fluctuates. Inside the world's largest coffee processing plant, blending is not done by intuition or tradition. It is executed with mathematical precision. Roasted beans from different origins: Brazil for body, Colombia for balance, Ethiopia for aroma, Vietnam for strength, are stored in massive silos, each monitored by weight sensors and humidity controls. Automated conveyors transport precise quantities to blending stations, where recipes are executed down to the gram. Every blend follows a digital formula. These formulas are guarded like trade secrets. Only a handful of engineers and flavor scientists have access to them. Each recipe is designed to deliver a consistent sensory profile, regardless of seasonal variation. Why does this matter? Because global brands cannot afford unpredictability. Consumers expect the same taste, whether they buy coffee in New York, Paris, or Singapore. And consistency at this scale can only be achieved through blending, not farming. What's shocking is how often blends are adjusted. When one origin becomes more acidic or less aromatic due to climate or soil changes, algorithms automatically rebalance the mix. The consumer never notices. The system absorbs the chaos. After blending, the coffee undergoes sensory validation. Professional tasters trained for years sample batches daily. They don't just taste coffee. They detect deviations measured in parts per million. If a blend fails sensory standards, it's reformulated or rejected entirely. This stage is where flavor becomes industrial intellectual property. Once approved, the blended coffee moves toward its next transformation: grinding. Grinding seems simple. It's anything but. In industrial coffee production, grinding determines extraction rate, bitterness, aroma release, and shelf life. A few microns of variation can change how coffee tastes in millions of cups worldwide. Inside the plant, industrial grinders tower several meters high. They operate at high speed, crushing beans into controlled particle sizes based on product type: espresso, drip coffee, instant coffee base, capsule systems. Each product requires a different grind, distribution. Laser diffraction analyzers constantly measure particle size in real time. If variation exceeds tolerance, the system adjusts grinder pressure automatically. Heat is the enemy here. Excessive friction during grinding releases oils too early, degrading aroma. That's why cooling systems regulate temperature throughout the process, preserving volatile compounds. Once ground, coffee becomes fragile. Exposure to oxygen begins immediate degradation. To fight this, the plant uses inert gas flushing, replacing oxygen with nitrogen to protect flavor. This is where speed becomes critical. From grinder to packaging, coffee travels through sealed systems designed to minimize air contact. Every second counts. What's incredible is the volume. Tons of coffee are ground every hour, yet every batch is traceable. Barcodes and RFID tags link each product back to its blend formula, roast profile, and origin mix. At this stage, coffee is no longer just a beverage, it's a precision-engineered consumable. And next, it will be sealed, branded, and prepared for a global journey. In the next segment, we enter packaging, automation, and global logistics, where millions of units are prepared for shelves worldwide. The factory is about to move at full speed. By the time coffee reaches the packaging floor, it has already passed dozens of inspections, machines, and chemical transformations. But this stage may be the most unforgiving of all. Packaging is where months of work can be destroyed in seconds if something goes wrong. Inside the world's largest coffee processing plant, packaging lines stretch longer than football fields. Conveyor belts move at breathtaking speed, carrying coffee through a synchronized ballet of machines operating with near-zero tolerance for error. Every product type has its own line. Whole bean bags, ground coffee bricks, aluminum capsules, industrial bulk sacks. Each line is optimized differently, but the goal is the same: protect flavor from oxygen, light, and moisture. The process begins with precise dosing. Automated fillers measure exact quantities down to fractions of a gram. Overfill wastes money. Underfill breaks regulations. There is no margin for human error. Next comes modified atmosphere packaging. Before, sealing air inside each package is replaced with nitrogen. Oxygen levels are monitored constantly. If thresholds are exceeded, the entire batch is rejected automatically. Why so extreme? Because oxygen is the silent killer of coffee. Even small exposure accelerates oxidation, flattening aroma and bitterness long before the product reaches consumers. At this scale, shelf life is engineered, not hoped for. Sealing machines operate at astonishing speed, thousands of units per minute. Heat, pressure, and timing must align perfectly. Sensors inspect every seal for microscopic defects. Then comes labeling and traceability. Every package receives batch codes, production, timestamps, plant identifiers, distribution, routing data. This information allows companies to trace any product back to its exact processing conditions within minutes, a legal and logistical necessity in global markets. Robotic arms stack finished products onto pallets with millimeter precision. Automated guided vehicles transport them to massive storage zones, where climate control preserves quality until shipment. This is not packaging. This is industrial choreography. And once sealed, the coffee's journey is far from over. A plant like this does not serve one country, it serves the planet. Every day, thousands of pallets leave the facility destined for ports, airports, and regional distribution centers across continents. Logistics here are as critical as roasting itself. The control room resembles an air traffic command center. Screens display shipping schedules, customs documentation, inventory forecasts, regional demand fluctuations. Algorithms predict consumption trends weeks in advance, adjusting production volumes automatically. If demand spikes in Europe, shipments reroute. If supply tightens in Asia, blends are Speed is everything. Retail contracts penalize delays. Supermarkets demand consistency. Coffee chains operate on razor-thin margins. One missed delivery can ripple across thousands of stores. That's why distribution is decentralized, yet synchronized. From the main plant, products flow to regional hubs, where final distribution occurs. Cold chain systems are rarely needed, but humidity control is essential. Containers are monitored remotely throughout transit. Even geopolitical risks are considered. Trade disruptions, port congestion, fuel price fluctuations, all are factored into routing algorithms. Coffee may travel halfway around the world before reaching a consumer, yet arrive tasting exactly as intended. And here's the paradox. The better the system works, the more invisible it becomes. Consumers rarely think about logistics when drinking coffee. But without this global machinery, modern coffee culture would collapse. And still, the industry faces growing pressure. Sustainability, energy consumption, labor ethics, and environmental impact now challenge the very foundations of large-scale processing. In the final segment, we confront sustainability, technology, and the future of industrial coffee, and ask whether this system can survive the next generation. The future of coffee is about to be tested. The machines never sleep, but the world around them is changing. As the largest coffee processing plants continue to operate at massive scale, a growing question shadows the industry. Can coffee remain sustainable in a world under pressure? Coffee farming faces increasing challenges: climate change, water scarcity, soil degradation, and rising production costs. These pressures ripple forward, forcing processing plants to adapt faster than ever before. Inside modern facilities, sustainability is no longer a marketing slogan. It's an operational necessity. Energy efficiency has become a priority. Many large plants now integrate renewable energy sources, solar arrays on rooftops, heat recovery systems from roasting exhaust, and optimized energy routing that reduces waste. Every kilowatt saved translates into millions in long-term costs. Water usage is tightly controlled. Advanced filtration and recycling systems allow plants to reuse water multiple times during cleaning and cooling processes. Wastewater is treated on-site before release, meeting strict environmental standards. Technology also reshapes the future. Artificial intelligence now predicts bean behavior before roasting begins. Digital twins, virtual replicas of production lines, simulate adjustments without interrupting real-world operations. Predictive maintenance prevents failures before they happen. Even packaging evolves. Biodegradable materials, lighter films, and fully recyclable components reduce environmental footprint while preserving freshness. Capsule systems, once criticized for waste, are redesigned for recyclability. Yet, sustainability is not just environmental, it's economic. Plants must support farmers through fair sourcing programs, long-term contracts, and price stabilization. Without viable farms, the entire system collapses. The future of coffee depends on balance between scale and responsibility, efficiency and ethics. And that balance is still being negotiated. Inside the world's largest coffee processing plant, the work continues. Millions of beans transformed every hour. Thousands of decisions made by machines and humans together. A system designed to deliver the same taste, again and again, across the planet. But beyond the machinery lies a deeper truth. Coffee is no longer just a drink. It is a global infrastructure connecting farmers, engineers, logistics experts, scientists, and consumers in one continuous chain. Every cup represents industrial precision, global cooperation, invisible labor, and engineered consistency. The factory doesn't chase romance. It chases reliability. And that reliability is what allows modern life to move at speed. Yet, as consumers become more aware, expectations change. Transparency matters. Sustainability matters. Responsibility matters. The future of coffee will not be decided by machines alone, but by choices. If this documentary has changed how you see your daily coffee, then its purpose is fulfilled. Subscribe to Industrial Insight. Explore the hidden systems behind everyday products. Comment which industry we should uncover next. Because behind every simple habit, there is an extraordinary system. And behind every system, there is a story worth telling. End of documentary.